Welcome to the Achieve Results Now podcast, the podcast that gives you immediate actions you can take to start seeing life-shifting results now. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Achieve Results Now podcast. This is Mark Cardone
and Theron Feidt.
We're talking about something so important today. We're talking about peace,
Yes.
and we're going to get into ways that you can live a more peaceful existence. And when I think about that, I just think, like, who wouldn't want that? Who doesn't want more margin, more peace, more just, tranquility in their life?
Yeah. Yeah. And when I think of this, I think it's very useful for if you want to be creative, if you want to get a lot of things done. If you're in the reaction zone and you're always reacting to other people and other things and things, that's not stable. And if you're a leader and you're not a stable leader, I don't know what kind of leader you are. I mean, well, I do. You're not a very good one, but that's not like people need to trust you, but they trust you by not what you say, hopefully, but by your actions, right? Now, you may earn their trust by you can tell them after a while and they'll listen to you, but you really have to prove yourself. And this whole idea is really setting yourself up for success to be a great leader. To whether you're leading a family, you're leading a business, church, whatever it is.
And you bring up something that I think is like a very good misconception in this thought process, right? And it's when you think about, when I say, hey, don't you want a more peaceful existence? I think a lot of people say, yeah, I do, but I can't
Yeah,
because I have all of these things. And
right.
I almost think there's like like kind of a balance. It's not even a balance, like a roadblock between the thought process of being an achiever and also being somebody who's peaceful. Because I think
Yeah,
people don't think you can be both.
right.
When in reality, I think most of the people I know who achieve the most also, are some of the more, the people who at least follow these action steps. I don't know if they're 100% peaceful people, but
Yeah.
they have that sense of peace when you negotiate with them, when you work with them, when the way they parent, the way
Hmm.
they run their business, even just kind of the way they set their schedule, having that, why is this important? Having that peaceful mindset
Right.
will help you be a more effective leader and be a more effective achiever.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I think overall you're gonna be happier. I think that's definitely a byproduct of it. Even though we choose whether to be happy or not, this can help us make the choice easier.
Yeah.
If you're not feeling well physically, it can be very difficult to feel happy, right? But this will again help you up. It'll help you set yourself up for the chance of being more peaceful. And I think it's not an on or off thing. It's not an on or off switch. It's more of a dial. That you're not going to be able to if you're a very reactive person and you follow everything that we say in this podcast, it's not going to all of a sudden the light switch is going to go on and you're going to be peaceful because you're going to still have those habits that are instilled in you and maybe instilled in you for years. So it's going to take a little while to improve. But if you again think of it as a dial that you're trying to improve your day, so more time during your day is peaceful, and you stress that out. And of course, it's not going to be 100%. I mean, I don't think anybody listening to this podcast is a monk that only sits there and meditates, because if you were, you wouldn't be listening to this, right? So we have things that come up in our day, but the goal is that we're able to deal with those unexpected things that come up. And that's part of the action steps that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the side benefits, you're gonna feel better, you're gonna sleep better,
Yep.
and all of those things. So let's get into our action steps. So number one, which we talk about a lot on the podcast, when we talk about like bookending our day,
Hmm.
is establishing that no reaction zone in the morning.
Right.
So really taking a hold of your morning and owning, ideally like a whole hour,
Yeah.
right? Like the first hour. I know sometimes that's not possible, and you can shorten that down as you get better at this,
Yeah.
but trying to create that hour, right after you wake up and keep that to yourself.
Yeah, and on that real quick too is especially if you're implementing for the first time, maybe you only do 15 minutes. Have
Yeah.
that as a goal. Set your goal to do 15 minutes of this, and then you might want to increase it to the hour and might really see the effectiveness. For me, 20 to 30 minutes seems to work really well in the morning. That's my time. Um, if I don't have to do any work that day or any other things scheduled, I can certainly take longer than that. But on even on my busiest days, I still do at least 20 minutes of this. That my morning's my own.
Yeah, and I think this is great. And I've talked to people who do this at different times of the day, but I feel like the people who do it in the morning,
Yep.
it just carries throughout. That
Hmm.
that sense of fulfillment carries throughout the day. And people ask like, well, what do you do in that hour? And I think, what you don't do in that hour is things that add to the stress level,
Right.
right? Checking email, text messages, I mean, doom scrolling social media. I think there's a lot to be said for having open time when you're focused on the things we talk about, like writing down your goals,
Right.
thinking about the things you're grateful for,
Hmm.
taking a quick walk, right?
Hmm.
Like get some fresh air and some sunlight in your eyeballs, things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. There's such a power. I love doom scrolling.
Doom scroll.
There- There's such a power in reviewing and rewriting your goals, and you just mentioned that. I think it's very underestimated, the power of that. And I really mean physically rewrite them. Get a notebook and get a nice pen or pencil, whatever you like to write with, and rewrite your top three goals. Whether it's the top three goals for the day, for the week, or just overall, you can change that up. But that's going to get your mind in the right frame. It's gonna reset you, and it's going to help you get in a direction for the day. That's one of the things that the morning should be. It should be setting your direction for the day. Think of the time that you got up late and you're really late and you barely have time to take a shower and get cleaned up and ready to go, and you're rushing, and then all of a sudden now you're in traffic, and and the traffic's horrible, and then there's an accident ahead, and all these things. Think of how that just snowballs through your day, and then you finally get to where you need to get, and then the people aren't there. I mean, you can really make your day pretty horrible, right?
Yeah.
Now, back it up. If you set your day up properly and all these other things still happened, you would already be in a better state of mind. So hopefully you can keep your peace longer, right? And that's why it's important that you set a schedule. Schedule yourself. This is the time that I wake up. This is the time I go to bed. And having that schedule with flex time, of course, is going to again set yourself up to be more successful that day, and that day piles onto the week, to the month, to the year.
And I really like what you said about the schedule with flex time, because what you don't want to happen, because I know at least a lot of people that I interact with on a day-to-day basis, right? They set their morning up like this: wake up, exercise, do this thing, take a shower, brush teeth, wake
Hmm.
kids up, and everything is so end to end.
Right.
That when one of those things takes a little longer, I mean, a funny story. Like I woke up one morning and we had a power outage, so my
Oh.
treadmill, like I walk on the treadmill every morning, but my treadmill was like off. And when it
Oh
turns
yeah.
off, I had to turn it on and reboot it. And then I
Yep.
had to put my password in. And it took like 10 to 15 minutes.
Hmm.
And that shifted my whole morning 15 minutes, which put me all in a tizzy.
Yeah.
Right. I ended up shortening the workout, which worked. But I
Yeah.
think a lot of people set their morning up like that to where if something goes sideways, they're just all flustered,
Hmm.
right? And I think what you said, as far as putting flexibility in this makes sense, because you don't want this to become, like an hour that you have to,
Right.
do. That's
Hmm.
another thing. You want it to
Right.
be, almost a relaxing time where you're focused on things that really move the needle for you. And I really like the idea of, start with 15 minutes, start
Yeah.
with, go to 30, but leave yourself a little bit of flexibility in
Hmm.
that time. So it's not an hour where every minute is
Yeah.
accounted for.
Yeah. You should be looking forward to it. And
Yes.
you should want to do an hour and be like, well, I don't really have time for an hour, or you're going to get up earlier because you're that excited.
Yeah.
I mean, think about any time you're really excited, whether you're going to go on vacation, that's the typical thing, or something else that really excited you. Were you able to get up in the morning? The answer is absolutely yes. And you probably got up before your alarm,
Mhm.
right? Well, how do you set yourself up to do that more often? To
Yeah.
say you're going to do that every day, I don't know if I believe. There's probably some people in the world that say, "Yeah, every morning I get up and I'm ready to go," and I think for the most part I'm like that, but I can't say I'm like that every single day. I can say that I have a week or two maybe in a row that I'm like that, but I can't say that I don't have at least one day or 2 days out of the month that I don't feel like getting up right away. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
Waking up.
so
Oh, no,
let's be realistic. But if you do your morning routine and it's something that you really enjoy, you are going to want to get up. It's something you look forward to. It's like working out. You get addicted to it. You're going to get addicted to something. It
yep.
may as well be something that's positive versus something that's negative. So
Got to fill the time.
that's
Absolutely.
right.
So getting into number two, so this one is implementing the pause and ask rule, right?
Hmm.
Pause and ask. And I really like I think when I think about peace, right? I think about how often, we're hit with external things, right? Whether it's news, whether it's social
Hmm.
media, whatever it is. It's an employee knocking on the door saying, I have a problem. That happens all the time, right?
Hmm.
How much power there is in just taking a quick breath, pausing, right? And I think just that half of this, right? Just
Yeah.
the pause part of this can really have a huge impact on your happiness and your peace.
Yeah, I think this can be tough depending on what's going on. Maybe uh, driving, you get really irritated with people. Um, my trigger that I always constantly have to work on, whether it's driving or anywhere, is people that are inconsiderate.
Yeah.
And now I don't know what percentage is, but I would say maybe half of them are inconsiderate because they're not thinking. So they're not intentionally being inconsiderate. And I think that's different than somebody intentionally. Like if I come up and push you and I did that intentionally, that's a little different than I walk by you and I hit you accidentally because I was getting out of somebody else's way.
Right.
The same action happened, but the my intention was different, So I think that's something that, we need to make sure, and that's part of that pause, that you mentioned. If you
Yeah.
pause and just take a moment, is this worth my peace? Is this what somebody did to me? Is it worth me getting upset over?
Yeah.
Because then they're in control of you. If you let someone else change your mood, that can be dangerous,
Mhm.
and especially if somebody you don't even know. Like if I don't even know this person, what do I care what they think of me? Right? Now, if your wife or husband has an issue with you, I think you should care what they think of you because they probably know you best. So you might want to do some changes. And is that okay that it interrupts your peace? Probably, because maybe your peace needs to be interrupted so you can make changes and improve.
Yeah.
So it does matter who it is.
And I think that's a really good, good thing to bring up is just that thought of like, I mean, people are going to think at some point you're a pushover. Right. And
Yes.
I hate
Yep.
that word because
I
people look
know.
at me a lot and they say, well, Mark's kind of a pushover. And I absolutely am in things that don't really make a difference.
Right.
Like letting other people win, letting that one guy cut in front of
Yeah.
you in the zipper merge, right,
Yeah.
is not going to end your day.
Zipper merge.
Zipper merge would tear people. And like you said, some people they just aren't paying attention and they cut you off. Some people race. I always think
Yeah.
about like Route 31 where there's like three or four merge lanes
Yeah.
and people
Yep.
will
Yep.
just
Yep.
gun. And
Yeah.
like you can get mad and try to like win that, or you can just say, "Man, I hope they solve whatever issues make them that kind of person. Have a
Right.
safe rest of your drive."
Yeah.
Like it's just there are things that are going to happen to you where you're going to feel like you need to prove yourself or win
Right.
or
Yep.
arguments. Oh my God, the arguments that people try to win, and at the end I go, did it matter? Like
Right.
you burn that bridge. Why? So
Yeah.
you could feel good for a minute.
Yep.
At the end of the day, it's okay to just pause and say, does this really make a difference? Is this
Right.
worth me being upset
Right.
about? And then right from there, you develop your response and how you
Yep.
respond to it.
Right. Yeah, that's such a great point. Choose your response. That's really what it is. Choose your response. And the pausing, the thinking about it, what is going to be the next, what's going to be the result of this? in traffic? Is it worth potentially getting in an accident over just to prove you're right?
Yeah.
And then you get in an accident, and who cares if you're right when you got in an accident? And God forbid somebody gets injured, because of that, because of your ego, basically. So these are, I think this is something that we probably most of us struggle with.
Yeah.
And so number two is a good one. Number two is a real good one that it's something that we have to constantly set a goal for. This is what I'm going to improve on today, and just hack away at it little by little.
Pause and breathe. I love it.
Yes. Yep.
Um, and then number three, this is something that I do in my schedule. So this is part piece and part time management, and I really like this tip because this is something that I live by, and it's scheduling unscheduled time. So
Hmm.
making sure that in your day you have buffers, right? Because
Hmm.
it's easy to have everything on schedule. Like I have this meeting from 9 to 10, I have this meeting from 10 to 11. I did not follow this rule yesterday and I had a hectic morning, right? But build in those, if it takes 15 minutes to drive somewhere, build in 30, right?
Yeah. Right.
Give yourself those little pockets of space so you're not always rushing.
Yeah. Yeah, like when I want to leave somewhere, if it's always a 15-minute buffer when I have to leave. And as the time expands, I'm going to expand it to 30 minutes or 45 minutes, whatever. So, like if I'm doing a 3-hour trip, I'm probably going to do 20 to 30. My goal is to leave 20 or 30 minutes before I actually have to leave.
Yeah,
And then I have a buffer time of either getting ready, something happened, I have to do something last minute, or there's traffic, or whatever the case is. And that makes a huge difference. That's going to help you stay in peace as well,
yeah,
because that's kind of like setting yourself up for success in the morning. This is setting yourself up for throughout your day.
yeah,
Having the buffer time. Something I was talking to the instructor team about during the instructor training was the class plans. And the class plans when I'm making them up, there's a buffer time in there. If you add up all the numbers, the number of times of how long each section should be, there's 4 to 7 minutes, depending on the length of the class, that's not accounted for. Well, you've run enough classes that sometimes something runs over, this section runs over, or there's something happen on the floor that you have to adjust. So I already built in that time. So it's everything's structured, but there's buffer time within that class plan. So that way things can run smoothly and it can end on time so the next class can start on time.
yeah. That's a really good example because I think about like when we're on the floor and I'm teaching a kid and they're having a great section, right?
Yeah.
And like they're mid something and it's like I just need that 30 extra seconds,
Yep.
right? And it's nice to have that. And
Yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
during my day, sometimes I'll be having coffee with somebody and you schedule it for a half hour or an hour, and then you go, you know what, man, I'm really enjoying myself. I want to put another 15 minutes into this.
Right.
It's nice to be able to do that because you build that margin into the day. So,
Yeah.
take an hour, take, 2 half hours, take whatever it is throughout the day, and just block them on your schedule as run over time or catch up
Right.
time or,
Hmm.
whatever you want to call it. And you know what? If it disappears, which it probably will, because most of the days don't go the way you want them to, you woke up late, you couldn't
Right.
exercise, maybe it turns into walk time,
Right.
right? But put it in there so you have that margin to just catch up
Right.
or even look, maybe you're caught up and you have an extra half hour. Ooh, you have extra time. Good for you.
Yeah. And on that, also schedule things that you have extra time. So instead of getting on your phone and scrolling social or playing a game, read, listen to a book. So if you have extra time, plans. So if I have time, this is what I'm going to do instead. What it'll make the biggest difference.
Yeah.
The biggest difference in your day versus, and I know this is slightly off topic, but it's kind of the reverse of what we're talking about. That extra time, using it wisely.
Yeah.
That'll help you the next day, whether you're doing something you need to do tomorrow, today, with that extra time.
Yeah.
That's good to do, or you're just catching up on some other things like we already talked about. Either way, it's going to make you feel so much better, and it's going to keep you in peace,
Yeah.
which is the theme of this podcast.
And it's funny. This is the off topic, but I love keeping a book in my backpack because for
Yep.
me, there's something really peaceful about actually pulling out a paper book
Yeah.
and like sitting and like reading it, because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I really feel like that's, to me, leisure time. That
Yep.
is that is true
Hmm.
leisure time in the middle of the day. But yeah, so schedule that on scheduled time. So let's go through and review, because I think this is awesome.
Yeah.
uh, our 3 action plan for living with more peace,
Yes.
right? So, number one, establish that no reaction zone in the morning, that hour or whatever time frame it is,
Hmm.
that's just for you to go for a walk, to get that sunlight, to write down your goals, to think about the things you're grateful for. But just that time, I don't want to call it a morning routine because that makes it a
Yeah.
block, and we don't want that. But just
Yeah.
that flex time in the morning that belongs to you.
Yep. Next is implement the pause and ask rule. So creating creating some space, sometimes physical space, but some oftentimes it's just time space before you respond. Um, Ask questions to yourself. Does this deserve me getting out of my piece? All of those things can be very helpful. Just pausing and thinking ahead of time instead of just reacting automatically.
Yep. And then number three, schedule that unscheduled time. Take, and that's so fun to say, schedule unscheduled time.
Yeah,
Take those
yeah.
little blocks and actually put them in your schedule because they're important. Those little catch up times, buffer times, whatever you want to call it. But that time that you set aside just in case, like rainy day time. So
Hmm.
when things don't go your way or when things go sideways, you have that time as that buffer. And I hope that helps. I want to say, may you go in peace, right at this point, but you're the minister. So hopefully this helps you bring more peace. Hopefully you can implement these, and hopefully you'll share these with somebody who would get a lot out of it. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Hop over to our website at www.achieveresultsnow.com to get your free copy of our book, Ignite Results, 4 specific daily actions to help you achieve results now. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Achieve Results Now. Thanks for listening, commenting, and subscribing. Now get out there and achieve results now.